European War 7, Medieval 40,000 registration vertical bar introduction to the diplomacy system in conquest mode this time. European War 7, Medieval will try the non-determinable camp mode for the first time. This means there is no fixed camp. Instead of that is the diplomatic relations between different forces. Each country can both be enemies and friends regarding the different situations. The country you declared war on may have allies behind it, while the allies you just made might be pulled away by other countries in the next turn. In European War 7, Medieval, the diplomatic relations will be divided into war, peace, passable, and alliance. The diplomatic relations between the player's country and other countries will be displayed directly on the big map in the form of diplomatic relations icons, diplomatic values, as well as the diplomatic attitudes, so that players can think more intuitively and quickly about what kind of diplomatic policy to adopt. Diplomacy value is a specific indicator of the conquest diplomacy system of European War 7, Medieval. In the conquest mode, all forces have diplomacy value, and the diplomacy value of both forces to maintain the same. This means the diplomacy value of Camp A to Camp B and Camp B to Camp A is the same. When the game starts, two forces will have a basic diplomatic value. The player may need to face the invasion of the hostile country's forces as soon as the starting period. The positive and negative or the size of the diplomatic value can show the diplomatic relationship between two forces, and the position of this value in the coordinates of the chart below can be a clearer indication of the diplomatic trend, so that the player can develop a diplomatic strategy according to the needs. In European War 7, Medieval Conquest Mode, players can increase the diplomatic value between the two camps through diplomatic strategies such as gifts, truces, and agreements. While declaring war, breaking agreements, and illegal invasions will reduce the diplomatic value between the two forces. Each country's bargaining chips will vary depending on their greed and size, and even hostile countries will influence diplomatic values through blackmail and other means. The diplomatic agreement is a kind of long-lasting diplomatic permission between two camps, which requires the player to consume a certain amount of resources to initiate the request, and the success of which is related to the diplomatic value between the two sides. Only when the diplomatic value meets the requirements to sign an agreement will the corresponding agreement button appear. When the diplomatic value between the two sides is lower than the diplomatic value required for an agreement to be signed, there is a certain chance that the AI will break the agreement on its own initiative. At the same time, players should pay attention to their country's population ratio in addition to the relationship with each country. A higher population ratio will not only affect the country's resource output, but also reduce the diplomatic value with the bordering powers. In addition to the content we mentioned above, there are many other interesting settings for the European War 7 Medieval Conquest Diplomacy system, which you could discover after game release. The game is currently in the development process and some of the nouns and screenshots mentioned in this article may eventually change accordingly. https://preg.easytech.com/mar/from =FROM=FACEBOOK and LANG=ENGLISH